Hi, everyone. The 2025 Emmy Awards are over. As I record this, Chris Rosen and I have just completed a marathon 3-hour watch-along of the Emmys at the Prestige Junkie After Party. Hopefully, some of you listening joined us there. But if you did not, if you're not a paid subscriber yet, hopefully someday you will be. But we're going to run down the Emmy Awards, what we loved, what we didn't love, why that countdown clock is still bothering us so much. A huge award show is over. Part of the season is over. There's a lot to recap. And then after that, you're going to get to hear my conversation with the team behind K-pop Demon Hunters. They joined us in our studio in Toronto. You can watch the video of it on YouTube. But if you want to listen to it, we'll have it for you here. I'm Katey Rich, and this is the Prestige Junkie Podcast. Chris Rosen, we did our Emmys watch along. What a good time that was. What a great way to watch the Emmys, I thought.
The best Emmys I've ever had watching. I would say the best time. I just loved it so much.
Well, you and I have both spent so many years of covering the Emmys and being like hunched down over our laptops, editing other people's stories, doing SEO breakouts, managing social media. And this time we got on our little Substack Live boxes. We talked. We had great commenters with us. I feel like we paid a lot of attention. Like we'd maybe yapped over a couple of speeches, but I feel like we really got to watch the full thing.
It was great. I love the experience. I love watching an award show with you, Katey. It's so much fun. So this was great.
I love award shows, and this was a really fun award show. So, I mean, we're recording this literally moments after it ended, and the pit, right before the pit won, we kind of said to ourselves, like, what's it going to be? And I think we both agreed it would be the pit, but with very little certainty, right?
This was a very dramatic pun, mostly not intended, but also intended, finish because, like the Pit and Severance. Severance had the most nominations, right? 27 nominations.
Like twice the amount of nominations as the Pit.
And won multiple awards, obviously, at the Creative Arts Emmys. And then coming into tonight, it was like, okay, what's it going to be? And they split all these awards throughout the night. So, like, the Pit wins Supporting Actress in a drama series for Katherine LaNasa, which really started, I would say, just a bunch of great acting winners. I think this was, like, one of the best in terms of the Emmys getting it right so many different times. Mm-hmm. And then Trammell Tillman won Supporting Actor for Severance, and you're like, okay, we're off. Yep. And then Britt Lower wins Best Actress in a Drama Series, which was a huge upset.
Big upset, yeah.
Over Kathy Bates. Most people expected Kathy Bates to win just because she's such an icon of the field. And then, by the time you got to the end, neither one of them won writing or directing, which is a great kind of tell to be like, okay, well, we felt like the Pit and Severance were splitting the vote in real time, right? Where it was like Slow Horses won directing and Andor won writing, your beloved Andor with Dan Gilroy. And then in the end, the Pit won. And I think what we would say
But we should also say that they Severance and the Pit split the guest acting awards too at the Creative Arts. I mean, Merritt Wever wins for Severance and Actress, and Sean Hannity wins an Actor. So just the most even split imaginable for these shows.
And then we got to the end. Noah Wiley wins Actor over Adam Scott. So now we're up to they each win 3 acting awards.
That's totally even.
And then the Pit won. And like we had talked about this, I think, when we've talked about it, it's like Severance had the most nominations. And in terms of when we talk about the Oscars, we're always like, they nominate what they respect and they vote for what they love. And that does feel a little bit like what happened here and for series, because like obviously the respect and the admiration for Severance was so big. But the people love the Pit, and that's just kind of why it won. That's really honestly why it won. They just love the show, and so it won.
Well, and the like voting for what you love versus respect may explain something like Jeff Hiller winning in Comedy Supporting Actor. Like, and I know I'm really jumping into a specific category and away from this, but like, I think as we were saying on the live stream, like what has ever been more surprising in an award show than that win? And like felt so heartfelt and joyful as watching that happen.
It was a crazy win. It was not I don't know a single person who predicted. I'm sure there's somebody out there who was like, I'll predict Jeff Hiller.
Somebody made so much money on a betting market betting on Jeff Hiller winning that award because of the odds must have been so low.
He was like last in the odds in the betting markets. Like the show obviously was not a major show. I think did it only have the one other nomination?
It had a writing nomination. Yeah, and had never been nominated for anything before that.
And I'm just like, no one was expecting that, especially up against, not that was a category with such great front runners, but you have Eben Moss-Bachrach, who has won previously for The Bear, Harrison Ford and Michael Urie for Shrinking, Ike Barinholtz for The Studio. You figure one of those people would end up winning. And
Bowen Yang.
No, it's Jeff Hiller. Right, and it's Jeff Hiller. That was truly one of the biggest upsets I can remember in terms of like an acting award at the Emmys, and after Britt Lower, which felt like a huge upset. So it was like that was
absolutely
like a tremendous upset, and I still can't believe that, honestly. That's like when it must just feel like you said, really like a passion pick, basically.
Well, and one of the people watching along with this, again, these after party subscribers, so brilliant. Thank you all for joining us there. Said it felt like the days when, Emmy voters used to have to watch the tapes of everybody's scenes that they would submit, and you'd be like, whoa, I'd never heard of this show, somebody somewhere, but what Jeff Hiller did in that scene. And like, it's possible people do that. Like YouTube has replaced the need for that, but it just felt like these moments over and over again of the work really shining it. Not that Ike Barinholtz is not amazing on The Studio or Kathy Bates is amazing on Matlock. Like they wouldn't have been rubber stamping wins, but just the passion comes through in that way. And I guess maybe when you see a surprise nomination like Jeff Hiller's, you're like, oh, there's something here that like says he could get across. I don't know how to extrapolate that to any other awards body other than the TV Academy. I think it's a really specific place, but it was just so heartening to see.
It was great. I do think that like kind of maybe is part of it too. I guess if you were somebody like, we know the Emmy, there's too many shows and like Emmy voters are not watching everything. So they kind of pick from what they watch. Jeff Hiller even getting in was such a shock. Like he talked about that with you in your interview with him, like not really very expected at all. And I think then when you come in and so like, I'm the person who was no one even maybe is aware of, right? I'm sure there are Emmy voters who never even heard of Jeff Hiller before this nomination, I would say.
Absolutely.
And now you're going to be like, oh, I better watch to see what the deal is. And like you said, like that's kind of it. There is no tape system, but maybe the novelty of his initial nomination helped him kind of succeed in winning, especially lacking a true frontrunner. I mean, like, yeah, I just thought that was such a wonderful win. He was so great, and he was so excited. Like you said, he's such a fan of like this industrial complex, the awards industrial complex.
Yeah,
so
Jeff
like,
Hiller, if you're listening, we're so happy for you. Please let us see your Emmy someday. The dream of all of us awards nerds is for someone to give us an award, and Jeff Hiller gets to do it. Well, and I now feel like I'm repeating myself because we've been talking for so long, but with Jeff Hiller and Katherine LaNasa, like I interviewed both of them throughout the season. Both of them have been like, I've been working, I've been auditioning, I've been playing these tiny bit parts. Like, they have had the actor career that is so common and you so rarely see reflected. Like it is not a life that Seth Rogen is familiar with, like just burning, or even Hannah Einbinder. Like they have worked and they have thought they might have to leave the business. They thought they might have to have a backup plan. Katherine LaNasa lives in Atlanta with her husband, Grant Show, who is on Melrose Place, because they both were like, that's where the work is. That's how we're going to live our lives. And the thing we had talked about before and we were talking about tonight is when you work like that, you've worked on all these different sets. You have shown up for a day. You have been nice to people. You have made a connection. That matters at the Emmys. The TV Academy voting body pays attention to that. And like, it makes those victories, I think, feel like a victory for everybody in this way.
We've seen that now multiple, like last year with Liza Colon-Zayas. It just, they do value that maybe more so than the Oscars do, right?
Definitely more so than the Oscars.
This kind of the journeyman actor or actress, someone who's really paid their dues, put in a position to win at the Emmys, that has become like a thing where they're going to pay attention to that. And it pays off. I mean, you could argue like, I was like, Kristen Miliotti's kind of like another, like you said, like kind of like she's worked with like so many different people, really paid her dues, like from like when she first started. Even like, I mean, Noah Wyle now is Noah Wyle, but like he's another guy who is like a character actor, not necessarily like the, and Adam Scott would have been too, I think you could argue. Yeah. But I'm like, it's just like, this feels like that.
Adam Scott's years of toiling in obscurity. And this is like, I'm thinking about, Jeff Hiller winning. I love Michael Urie. There's a lot of great performances there, but it's kind of unvarnished, like joy. Noah Wyle, I think, was terrific, but like Adam Scott was amazing on Severance. And there is part of me that's like, all right, was this his only chance? Like, did we miss out? Because I think I had been thinking that maybe this year Severance wins. It has the overwhelming tally, but like the pit comes roaring back in January and everyone's like, yeah, we're doing it. Severance is not coming back next year. Like, I don't know when that's going into production. So now I don't know, like the pit, come and win a second year in a row, or does like a Shogun show up in the spring that we don't see coming? Believe it or not, I have not thought about what's winning next year's Emmys. I have not gotten that far ahead.
No. Well, we don't know what shows. I mean, if you would have, last year, at the end of last year's Emmys, if we would have said this show, The Pit, is going to win, it's a doctor show that's on HBO Max with Noah Wyle. I don't think anybody would have really taken that as seriously as a win competitive show. So, like,
but also,
we never
if you've
know
been like
TV.
Seth Rogen's doing a show about Hollywood on Apple, you've been like, okay, I can see that.
I could definitely see that, and it did. But yeah, like you never know what's going to win. I'll be curious to see. One thing I've noticed, Emmy voters in the like historically have been, and we see it even now. Like we were saying, like how many times is John Oliver going to win? How many times is Gene Smart going to win? That said, they have shown a willingness to move when the shows are not up to their level. They're shown a willingness to move off those shows. So like The Bear being a great example this year, which is getting shut out in the main telecast, not winning anything for season 3. That was pretty divisive. And even like Hacks, like this season was not as, I love that. It's my favorite show.
Yeah,
but I'm like, I think
big Hacks
like
defender.
in the conversation was that this season was maybe not as good as the 3rd season, which won obviously over The Bear. And you kind of saw that in the wins because it even lost writing, where I think a lot of people were expecting it to win writing, and it lost to the studio.
Did the studio win when writing, directing, lead actor series? That's its win?
Yes. And then it won a guest actor for Bryan Cranston.
Right. Okay.
But that was the creative arts. It
And
didn't win
Hacks won,
supporting characters.
Hacks won all the actors categories, which is very
Hacks won all the
appropriate for
actors
Hacks.
categories it was nominated in. So it
Including
won
Julianne Nicholson.
Julianne Nicholson.
In guest.
She boofed it. And then Hannah Einbinder, which is with a deserved win finally, which I was
Long
worried
overdue.
she was never going to get actually for the show. And then obviously Gene Smart winning again, which is just now like a kind of a joke because she's won 4 times for the show and will probably win a 5th time next year because it's the last season or whatever.
She's tremendous on that show.
So,
I think there's a fine tradition of like TV royalty women like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like Gene Smart, like Candice Bergen, just like, are you going to tell him no? You're going to tell Gene Smart she can't come win another Emmy?
I'll be curious. I can't even imagine what it would take to have Gene Smart lose for Hacks now, right? You know what I mean? Like I would love, like what performance would be better than
That's
her?
a great question.
It was like, you can't even think of one really. So.
No, it's really tough. Like you imagine like, Kate Winslet airlifting in, but like she's not going to be in a comedy. Like it's just a totally different thing. Hannah Einbinder, we should say, like, I mean, I don't think it was especially political night in any way, and probably a relief for that. But she was she was the one who got away with saying "fuck ICE," "Free Palestine," and also "Go Birds." I'm so sorry that she would torment you in that specific way. But was to be expected from her. I mean, Javier Bardem came prepared to talk about Gaza as much as possible, and then he didn't wind up getting the chance to win, and so it was Stephen Graham and the team of adolescents just over and over again. That was kind of how it was meant to be, I think.
I mean, for sure. And Javier Bardem spoke very, and during his red carpet interviews, very forcefully about Free Palestine, and like kind of talked about the boycott that a lot of actors and filmmakers have signed against like corporations that are supporting Israeli government and stuff. But Hannah Einbinder saying Free Palestine felt like pretty pointed, especially because she's, I think, the only person to have said that on the stage, basically.
I think so.
People alluded to different things, but then nobody actually said anything really political.
Well, the most political moment of the night is Stephen Colbert winning, right? And it's all like subtext in some way. But, we were talking before his category. So I always forget how the late categories. It's best talk show.
Variety talk series, I think it is. Or is it not even called that anymore?
He's nominated up against Kimmel and The Daily Show.
Yes.
And we're like, what if he doesn't win? Like, because, they saved it for late in the night. They got Bryan Cranston standing up there who plays like the vicious studio head on the studio. So maybe him standing in for the Ellisons, who knows? But I mean, the room just exploded when Colbert won. Like you don't see that level of enthusiasm for a win very often.
No, and they started the show with him too. It's funny that it's on CBS this year, obviously, and like was streaming on Paramount Plus. So while CBS is maybe the villain in this story for a lot of people, it still gets the benefit of that, right? Because it's like the people tuning into the Emmys, the second thing they saw was Stephen Colbert, and then by the end of the show, they save that category for the end, and it's obviously a huge moment with Colbert winning, and he could win. He will be eligible and probably nominated. And what will he win again next year in the same category? Because the show is ending in May.
As opposed to giving it to The Daily Show a million more times, like yes,
I'm totally fine with it. Right, like that's fine.
I mean, like John Oliver won
funny.
2 Emmys that we watched. Like that just feels exhausting when they just keep giving it to John Oliver. I guess he's only nominated against SNL.
They should, all these categories are a mess too, and there's just not enough shows anymore to even make a lot of these work. But that said, I was like, they got to put a limit on these wins. I do think, especially it's like, okay, like let somebody else win. You can
all
win,
those categories are a mess, and then we have the short form categories that make no sense, and it's where like there's too many. There's not enough late night shows to fill the late night categories, and then there's way too much short form content to fill the short form content that the Emmys have managed to have, and they got to fix that eventually. So Gobert winning was the big moment. With the studios, we talked about the Pitt and Severance a little bit. Do we feel like the studios versus Hacks like shook out as the more or less way that it should have?
I mean, I think so. And I think this studio kind of really just there was no doubt that it was going to win. I think maybe coming into the show, you could have been like, oh, I could see a world where Hacks could win. And even in those early stages when Hannah Einbinder won, I was like, that's interesting because she had not won. But once it like won writing even, it just seems like that was and it's like a show that was literally made to not just win Emmys, because I think it's like very funny and like I love the show, but it is like
it is made to appeal to this audience really specifically
to win an Emmy, right? And so like it did, and I'm sure it will not be the last awards that it wins. I'm sure it'll SAG, in the winter it'll win and like probably continue through. And I'm very excited for season 2 whenever that comes out.
Yeah, I guess pretty soon. Like if Seth was in Venice, like scouting things, it feels like the time is going to come. I mean, obviously Apple wants another season of that show very, very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nate Bargatze, we should get to him as a host. Opened really strong with the Philo T. Farnsworth sketch that was just very a riff funny on his SNL sketch with James Austin Jostin, Bowen Yang, and Mikey Day was the 3 people. Funny. It was like him totally in his element. I don't think that his energy was wrong for the show, but I think he went all in on a bit that was terrible and it sank him.
100% agree. The whole show was the bit. Like he did that opening sketch, which was very funny. It went on a little long, but it was still funny and like it was good. And people seemed to, like you were saying when we were watching it live, they didn't really cut to the crowd, but there was it was funny reactions in the room, and they shot it to not cut to the crowd because it's like obviously like the SNL sketches, so they're not going to cut to the crowd. And then Colbert came out to do the first award, which was Seth Rogen winning comedy actor. And they went back to Nate, and he really didn't even do a monologue. I would argue.
He just kind of immediately went into the Boys and Girls Club thing.
Set up this Boys and Girls Club thing, and that was the entirety of his hosting was like policing that Boys and Girls Club bit.
The policing and saying that if your speech goes over 45 seconds, it will take money away from it, which is like. They're always trying to get people to get their speeches shorter. There is something funny about making it for charity. You're trying to and I feel like at the beginning I was like, yeah, sure. You're trying to make the Emmys about something bigger. You're trying to promote a thing. They had JB Smoove, who I guess had been to Boys and Girls Club as a child, in the audience talking about it. They have the kids on stage. There's something about like using the Emmys as a microphone for something useful that I thought was a good idea. But
and then it just died, and it immediately. I'll say this: I totally agree with you because I was like, "Oh, this is actually not a bad idea." And keeping the speeches short, and it harkens back to like we were saying, like Anthony Anderson had his mom, like going to boo people from the stage, and even that was kind of tone deaf. But at least it was like, oh, it's kind of like they always want to do this, and it's a long show, and keep it tight.
Anthony Anderson's mom wasn't going to do it to Owen Cooper, and she can seize the moment in a way that a rapidly ticking clock cannot quite read the room.
And just like putting it on this screen at home, like again, like you have these great moments where it's like they were so lucky to have all these incredible, surprising winners. Katherine LaNasa, Trammell Tillman, like we went down like Britt Lauer, right? Like Lauer.
Oh,
Britt Lauer.
I think it's Lauer.
We'll get it right. You would definitely know better than me. Britt Lauer, and like all these great speeches, and just seeing the ticking down, it just was such a poor. And just doubling and tripling down on the bit, I just found it like pretty unlike. It just was like not ideal. It kind of like, and you like, I think you said this. He had a really good energy, I thought, for the show, and like he was funny.
It's not like a Joe Coy situation where the room is like, what is this guy doing here? Like he's very famous. He's more famous than a lot of those people in the room, and he has this like casual vibe about him that I think is good. Like he doesn't have the like, hey everybody, I'm going to get the energy up kind of thing to him. So I guess that's what he's using that clock for, or using JB Smoove for, or whatever else, and it just didn't.
It did not work. And I'll be curious to see what they say afterwards. Like, and like we talked about, like, we're doing this like literally like 25 minutes after the show ended. So I'll be curious to see like in the next day, like what I know the response is going to be bad just based on social media because people are really unhappy with him. But I'll be curious to see what like the producers say when they do postmortems and what kind of he says. And yeah, it did not work. And it just felt like, it's just like, what is the point of the show if you're gonna rush through the speeches or like make the speeches feel punitive when they go long? Like, what's the point of the show?
Once again, gonna make it feel hard to get people to want to host these award shows. Like, if you get someone like Nate Bargatze who could be making millions of dollars at a
Yes.
stadium show as opposed to hosting these Emmys. And everyone's like, fuck you, we didn't like you. Like, how are you ever going to get them to want to do this?
He's so rich. He ended the show by being like, here's $250,000 for the boys club. I'm almost like, if they were going to, we knew they were going to do that anyway. Like, that was obviously part of the bit, that they were going to end up like being like, oh, you know, I'll give money to this, obviously, haha. But I'm like, man, they should have pulled the string on that like much sooner, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I just wish he was in it more. I don't know. Like, he just spent this whole time talking about this,
I don't
losing
think
money.
you want an award speech to be 45 seconds. I don't
way
think
too
that's a
short.
reasonable thing to ask. Like, you don't want anyone to just like give off a laundry list of their agents, but you would just watch people be so like stunned into realizing that their time was running out and like what the stakes were and how they would look like an asshole for taking it away. But also, this is their moment. This is not supposed to be about somebody else. It's supposed to be your chance to like not just celebrate yourself, but thank the people who got you to where you are. Thank Ted Sarandos or whoever else it is. And it just made it so stressful for no reason.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think anybody was really grandstanding. Like they weren't, I mean, the people who grandstanded was like Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen, who talked forever, and I love them, but they didn't do a ton. And Reba McEntire singing the Golden Girls theme song, which went on forever.
A lot of, and then again, like you're getting to a great point, which is like, who are those bits for? And like, why are they in the show? And they're not like cutting down the amount of time that they spent setting up and talking about the Boys and Girls Club bit. If you take that out of the show, you have all this time for the speeches. You know what I mean? It's just like, and then like you said, the Golden Girls bit, like a lot of that stuff just did not totally work. I don't know. As a show itself, not the best.
I remember, I think the year Anthony Anderson hosted, they did a bunch of reunions on stage, and they would have like the original cast up there together. And I think those were really popular and went well. But again, they weren't in this atmosphere being like, we gotta go. We're going to rush everybody off the stage. It's hard for you to pull off both, especially when you've got everyone being like, hey, just a reminder, keep your speeches short. Like they kept cutting to it over and over again. And it made Nate feel like a less welcome
headlines
presence.
right now too. Okay. Here's like a great social, this is from Deadline. Those poor kids from the Boys and Girls Club, just when Nate Bargatze was ready to give them $100,000, long talkers like Hannah Einbinder and Katherine LaNasa took a big chunk of it away. And I'm like, that's how it's being framed. That's just like a negative. Like, that's just pretty bad.
Like, and it's the women who you're mad at, obviously.
Sure.
No, that's a crazy thing to do. And like Hannah Einbinder, like, you know, she's young. It's not like she's like worked forever for this. But like Katherine LaNasa, like you're really going to begrudge her the ability to like stand in the spotlight in that way. And like maybe we sound like award show psychos who like want to watch this stuff and want to watch people talk forever. But you know who's left as the audience for award shows as opposed to watching literally everything else in the world of television is people like us. Like,
correct.
Make the show good for the people who actually want to watch this and not just try to like keep people from flipping away to football at any moment.
Isn't that like what the key to like being successful in this day and age is like targeting the audience that you want instead of trying to get a global audience that doesn't exist or doesn't care? Like, and it just is like these shows still don't get that. And like, this is like frustrating to see because otherwise I thought it was like, these are again, really great winners. I don't think anybody's going to be mad at these winners. You know, Adolescence was a beloved show. It dominated. Studio people really liked.
And
Hacks
like, even when people were trying to like
right?
rush through their speeches, like they were emotional and sweet and like surprising and all of the things that you want them to be in in a speech. And because the Emmys have that element of surprise that we were talking about, it's not like you've been like, oh, I've seen Emma Stone give this speech a bunch of times over the last 2 months. Like I've rarely thought of the Emmys' lack of precursors as a benefit, but I feel like it really worked that way.
And the other, I mean, and to spin it positively for Nate Bargatze, like having seen his stand-up very little. I'm not a big stand-up guy, Katey. I don't know about you, but like I've seen clips of his stand-up.
I enjoyed interviewing him immensely.
Yeah, and his interview with you was really nice. I listened to that too, and I was like, oh, like he's funny, and like I feel like I was not given the chance to see him perform because so much of his performance was wrapped in this stupid bit that didn't work.
Yeah. I was thinking about the presenters who got a chance to be a little bit more straightforwardly funny. Shout out to Kathy Bates and Alan Cumming, who we were pondering what they'd been in together, and our listeners pointed out they were in the Annie TV movie, which they then talked about on stage. We were so on top of it. They were really funny, and they adjusted their banter to reflect the fact that he had won an Emmy that night and she had not. So really good thinking on the fly. Any other highlights from those groups?
I did enjoy, I mean, like, kind of like we've seen this bit before, but I did enjoy Ike Barinholtz and Katherine Hahn. I thought they were very fun together.
They were fun.
And I guess I'm trying to think who else I like together.
I know, I'm like scrolling through the list of who was up there.
And I'm like, oh, a lot of them were, I mean, Sarah Paulson, Evan Peters. Oh, Ray Romano and Brad Garrett. That was a great one.
They were
That was
really
towards
funny.
the end. They did comedy series.
Yeah,
Man, they were
Leanne
so
Morgan was
funny.
great presenting the reality shows. Love Leanne Morgan.
I mean, we always say this every time after the award shows when I'm like, oh, if one of these presenters could host. But I would love to see what you mentioned on the live stream, but you were like, oh, Coleman Domingo should probably host one of these things. And I'm all for that because I'm like, I was thinking, like, one of my favorite Oscars is Hugh Jackman, right? When he hosted. Just one of the best ones they've ever had. And it's like a they've done the like a lot. Obviously, it's always going to be like a comic, or it has historically been. And they've moved away from that unsuccessfully at times. But I'm like, Hugh Jackman was such a great example. I'm like, Coleman Domingo would be like that, I think, if he gets to host a show. But I do think they need to think out of the box on some of these hostings. Not that Coleman Domingo wants to do this.
Hopefully they keep him as long as they can because Conan was great.
Conan was great. He was really great. But I'm like, for the other shows, and I really liked, and I can't even remember her name. Who hosts the Golden Globes? Who's that nice
Nikki
comic?
Glaser.
Nikki Glaser.
It really took me a minute. Yeah, she's really well suited to the Golden Globes. It is very late.
Very late. But Coleman Domingo would be really great one of these years to host one of these shows.
Well, because he's got that like showman thing that Hugh Jackman does, and then just like a really like sincerity. He has that like he can like switch in like preacher mode basically, and kind of like get the room moved. And if we're switching into sincerity, if that's the move we're making, if the Pit winning over the Severance means that we're in a vibe shift toward feelings, Coleman Domingo will be well suited to that moment.
And I do think we are in a vibe shift towards feelings. Like, I think these winners speak to that, right? Because like all of these winners from tonight, it's the Emmys, are shows that people really emotionally responded to, or performers and performances that people were just like Jeff Hill, have incredible stories and that are like really
Somebody Somewhere is
moving.
All about feelings. Like it's like more prestige-y HBO looking, but it is just about like doing your best by people and trying to find a nice life for yourself. Like it's perfectly suited to this vibe shift. Look at us being trend watchers. Like I think we are right. And hopefully people recognize that we are clairvoyant in that way.
And we're recording this obviously like the day of, like we said, like not this is about the Emmys, and we'll always bring it back to the Oscars because I know we both love it. But like Hamnet winning the Audience Award at TIFF, I think speaks to this too, where it's like an emotional movie about feelings, about loss, about, like all these really strong emotions, and that wins the Audience Award. When you, on paper, you might be like, oh, that's not going to win a TIFF Audience Award, but it really did. And I do think we're seeing that. So it'll be curious to see.
Do you cry harder when you see Jesse Buckley go to the Globe, or when you see Dr. Robbie have his breakdown on the floor of the hospital, or is it both? Because both of them wreck you in their own ways.
It's probably both, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Any takeaways? What did we learn from this Emmy season? I said this during the live stream. It's like, I'm not taking credit for having like interviewed people, then they win an Emmy. Although, if you want to tell me that it's my power that gets them that. But, you cover Emmy season for a long time. We've got to do a lot of events and talk to a lot of these people. And it was just so great. Like looking back and being like, oh, there's Amanda Marsalis, the director of The Pit. And we talked to her, and there's Katherine LaNasa. And like, got Chris Miliadio I talked to like a year ago. And I don't know what the narrative is other than a vibe shift toward feelings, but it was nice to see so many of these people reach the end of that road. I mean, I do think it's also a narrative of like, again, different from the Oscars and the Emmys as its own thing, is that the campaigning really does matter. If you think about like the shows, that really were out there, it's all the people who won. You know what I mean? Out there, even though it was this kind of organic hit, but they did not let up. And I feel like Netflix is now doing the same thing with K-pop Demon Hunters, not to transition into the next thing, but they know how to do that. And like studio, obviously they were everywhere. The Pit, obviously Severance was too, but it did really well, right? It won multiple awards. Severance did really well. Adolescence is another one, like you said. The studio, Hacks, like they're not out there as much, but they still won their 2 awards. I don't know. I feel like the Emmys want you to want it. The TV, they want you to see that you're putting in the effort, that it means something to you, that this is an important thing for you. Whereas with the Oscars, it's still kind of that coolness, like, you don't really want it, but you really do want it, but you can't say you want it because then it looks weird. But for the TV Academy, it's totally opposite. So I do think that was a big thing. And then I guess for me, the trend is to like, these are like, traditional TV shows-esque, I guess. Studio is obviously like very high level because of the filmmaking and stuff, but it is still at its core like a Larry Sanders Show or like a comedy show that you would have seen. And it's also nostalgic for an early era of Hollywood, right? Like it makes Hollywood like really beautiful and like it's still in the 70s, which I think has that power too. And The Pit obviously harkens back to ER, like you were saying. Like all these shows are like really
kind of traditional TV shows, which I think matters. So that's another trend, I guess. And then, yeah, I mean, they still like the shows they like. And like we know what shows they like this year, which were Severance in the Pit and Hacks and Adolescence and The Studio and a little bit The Penguin, right? Because Kristen Milioti. But I wonder if Adolescence had a lead actress, I guarantee you that person would have won over Kristen Milioti. No disrespect to Kristen Milioti.
No disrespect to her. I feel like the same thing happened last year with Baby Reindeer. Like something, one person won. I guess it was a lead actress probably. No,
it was Jessica Gunning won. She was supporting, and she won at the
someone
Emmys.
Won lead actress.
And then Anna Sawai won Emmy, and so did Hiroyuki Sanada for Shogun,
that was in drama.
Right?
No, because Shogun got moved to drama. So
right.
something won.
So funny.
Something won. Hang on, I'm gonna look this up as we're wrapping this up. I was gonna say when you're talking about wanting it, I'm still thinking about Tony Gilroy standing on Sunset Boulevard with the TMZ bus honking at him, being like, "What are we doing here?" What's
Jodie Foster won, Katey.
Jodie Foster. See, there you go. And then Lamorne Morris, I guess, beat Tom Goodman Hill for Baby Reindeer. So that was a twist. Anyway. Fun Emmy season.
This was
Oscar
great.
Season's ahead. It was a great time. I'm so glad that we did our live experience.
Me too.
And that we get to watch TV for fun for a little bit.
It's going to be great. I can't wait to watch it for fun.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts before they kind of become award stuff. So we're going to take a break. And then after that, you'll hear my K-pop Demon Hunters conversation. Let's hear just one of the many, many conversations Chris and I recorded in the Prestige Junkie Video and Portrait Studio up in Toronto last week. You can watch the video version of this and all of the other interviews we did at the Anglers YouTube page. Thousands of people have already seen this one in particular, but I wanted to make sure you podcast listeners knew just how many great interviews we did up there. So I figured, why not start with the people behind what is indisputably the year's biggest movie? K-pop Demon Hunters was not showing as part of the Toronto Film Festival, but a lot of the team behind it were up there anyway. They hosted an incredible karaoke party on Thursday night at the beginning of the festival. And then they woke up the next morning to talk to me. What a thrill. The voices you're about to hear belong to the film's co-directors, Maggie Kang and Chris Appelhans, and then three of the people who provide the film's really crucial singing voices. Audrey Nuna is the singing voice of Mira, one of the members of Huntrix. Ray Ami is the singing voice of Zoe, another member of Huntrix. And then Kevin Wu is a singing voice for Mystery Sasha of the Sasha Boys. It might be a little hard to tell who's who when you're listening to this. I get it. It's a big group. But the K-pop Demon Hunters team really does kind of speak as a unit at this point, especially when it comes to the really special sign-off they do at the end of the conversation. That was totally their idea. K-pop Demon Hunters has taken over my household, as it has for literally millions of other people. So this conversation was a real thrill. And with this movie now looking really likely to probably win the animated feature and Best Original Song Oscars, now is the time to catch up if you haven't already somehow. So start by listening to my conversation with Team K-pop Demon Hunters from our TIFF studio. Thank you so much for being here. As I was saying before we started, I was there for the karaoke party last night. We were all there on hand. It was an amazing show. And I know this is kind of a big question to start with, but like hearing those songs, singing those songs at karaoke, how are those songs living in your head right now? What are they meaning to you at this point, having known them for so long and now they kind of belong to the entire world? Where are you with them?
Well, it's living rent-free in our heads.
Oh, they're stuck in your head too?
All day, 24/7. And just to perform it, live with Huntrix and me on behalf of the Sasha Boys, it was just such a amazing experience. And for everyone to know the lyrics alongside with us was just really memorable, yeah.
I feel like they were bangers from the moment I heard them, and they're bangers now, honestly.
Yeah, we just, gave birth and then just tossed the baby to the world. And
gently tossed or just like here?
Kobe. Sorry. But anyways, it's just amazing to see how people are resonating with the music and embracing it wholeheartedly.
I mean, Maggie and Chris, for you guys, are the songs stuck in your head as well, like they are for the whole world?
Oh yeah, I just
been for years.
I just hum it I'm just humming as I'm like cooking or like, and it's just like, oh, what am I singing? Oh, it's Golden or like Soda Pop or yeah. It's just like naturally just in my head. So I just like, it's just part of my life now.
Yeah. It's good to know that we're not alone, like the fans of the movie, and you guys are right there with us, and they're just all,
We're going on like some of these songs 3-4 years of listening to them, and I'm not sick of them yet, so they might last. Yeah.
Message to the world. You're not going to get sick of these songs anytime soon. Well, for you guys as filmmakers, you've experienced writing story, making films, and I think musicals are really a whole other hill to climb. And it's my understanding that you were developing the story for a while, but the music was really part of it for such a long time because the songs tell so much of the story. So to ask you guys, as the filmmakers, adjusting to storytelling with songs, and then how you bring these singers into part of that storytelling process, it feels like.
I think we were a little bit in denial of how much this was a musical because we've always presented it as a non-musical. Like our characters are pop stars, and so they just naturally sing. And so we knew that the music was going to be part of the story, but it was very much like, oh, if you just can't have 2 minutes of music without progressing the story and the plot and the characters. So once we really realized that, it was like, wow, okay, this is, whenever we discuss music, it's big story sessions. We're trying to figure out character and story, and so it was a very difficult process, but really, really helpful in us building the film out. And it was a challenge. None of us had worked on a musical before, so or Chris and I, and so it was really interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like slowly it occurred to us that the form of the pop song, of which there's so much variety in pop songs, from like how it's done, which is just like an introductory banger, like a declaration of who you are as a group, to something like Golden, which is in some ways exposition. It's like a story of who we are and what our dream is.
The girls' backstories.
Yeah, and their histories. And throughout the film, it became about like, what is the story asking of us? And then how can we frame that? What kind of pop song actually serves that content? And then trying to actually capture the musical magic and you need some poetry too, in terms of like lyrically getting those ideas in a way that's elegant and catchy and memorable. So that was really cool, and there was just no benchmark. We couldn't point at something else and be like, we'll do it like they did it. We're like, well, we've got to figure it out.
We'll just write some of the best songs in movie history. It'll be easy. Yeah. Well, you guys as musicians, obviously you're telling stories through your own music, but a movie is a totally different thing. You're being characters. You're working with the actors who are the voice actors. Like when you're handed songs like this and you're presented this chance to build the character, how is it different from your own musical careers?
I will say, personally, in my own artistry, I have the freedom to explore and experiment, but I found comfort in this role with Zoe because, one, I just personally relate to her so much. I see my entire being in her. And working with Ian, who was the executive music producer, he is such a beast in the studio. And because this is a story, this is a character, she is her entire being. She's not Rayami. So I think working with Ian again, delivering the lines, making sure you're hitting every note perfectly, you're embodying Zoe, evoking the correct emotions that the lines call for, because it's not me speaking it, it's Zoe. So I think there were many skills and tricks in the studio that I learned. I learned how to belt. I didn't know I could belt.
Wow.
Ian got me to belt. He was like, the moment you started talking, I knew you were a belter. And I was like, oh, okay.
Journey of self-discovery.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just so grateful for that experience, for Ian's coaching. I'm sure, Audrey, you can piggyback off of that.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was like, okay, it's K-pop. It's a genre that I really have never stepped into before. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to have to activate a whole different side of myself for this. And I was so surprised with how much it actually taught me as an artist about what I can bring to my own recording process and my own process. I wasn't expecting that like insanely organic crossover. I feel like we're getting a masterclass right now of just storytelling and, the kind of the amount of thought that goes into it. But I think as a fellow artist, you really feel that level of intention, and it's really brings you back to your roots of kind of, oh, this is why I do this. And also to have to kind of be limited in a sense to just being a recording artist and your only job is to deliver the lines that, like, you know, like Ray, I also am super involved in a lot of the writing and production decisions and the mix, you know, thought, all these things. And to just have to deliver the lines was like, that's another level of, you know, I think growing your skill set as a storyteller. But
yeah. And for me, this movie is truly a art imitates life situation. I come from the world of K-pop. I was in a boy band called U-KISS for over a decade, and now I'm just a K-pop star, but in demon form. I made a comeback as a demon, and it was truly an experience of a lifetime. You know, I've toured around the world as a K-pop idol, but to reach new audiences with this film and for the whole world to resonate with K-pop is just a truly incredible experience. And I want to thank Maggie and Chris and the whole team for having us on board. We just did not expect this kind of response, but we're just taking it all in, one, you know, stage, one press junket at a time. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have to defend the Saja boys? Like you're out there defending the honor of the boy bands? It's a rough road for them in this movie.
It is.
But people love them. Yeah, people love them so much.
I mean, yeah. Yesterday was a testament to how much love that the Huntrix and Saja boys are receiving, because yesterday was the first night that we ever sang together in harmony.
Wow.
And I posted a video of us singing, and it went viral because the whole world is like, the Hunmoon is confused. And I laughed so hard in my hotel room this morning. What is happening? Why are they?
That's amazing.
You guys aren't allowed to share this space. You're supposed to be fighting.
That's hilarious. I didn't see that. Oh my gosh.
Whoever left that comment, yeah.
When you say it went viral, it's been like 12 hours. Like, it doesn't take very long.
Yes, it was kind of immediately. I just love that the word Hunmoon is so canon now. Like, it's like K-pop music canon. It's so crazy. Like, I just think that's amazing. And that just goes to show like how much people have the audience has just embraced this movie and just really, like, I don't know, it's just now like in the world. And it's this baby that we just threw out, like Ami says. Right.
And the fact that our soundtrack has so much Korean lyrics in it, as Korean Americans, it's such a beautiful thing to witness for anyone who, you know, isn't Korean to sing with us in Korean. It's just another level of success for K-pop and another wave that you guys have created.
Well, I think it just speaks to like original IP in the sense that this idea works because these guys exist, and you need it. The timing has to work out. You tried to do this 20 years ago, and these guys aren't around. And so I think that when Maggie dreamed up this idea, it's a great original idea, but it also is like a kind of a magnet for all the people out there who have these skills and these points of view, and then suddenly it becomes a showcase of them. And I think that's really exciting to see, and you can see the audience respond to like how fresh it is, and that makes me really optimistic about the next round of original stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the freshness of it is really hard to underestimate. Obviously, K-pop is so big. It is, you know, the genre of music is kind of IP in itself, but it's this original story and it's this funny mashup of things. And honestly, I was thinking of like Gem and the Holograms as like a precursor for this. But for you guys, in the years of making this movie, like how many times did you have to say like, no, they're pop stars and they're demon hunters and here are all the reasons it'll be successful. Like, it's such a famous uphill battle to make anything original in Hollywood. So how did you guys navigate out of those conversations? What was the way that you got everyone to understand the vision, or at least trust you that it would actually pan out?
We tricked them.
Yes. I think, you know, the original story that really didn't change all that much, like Rumi's journey and just the idea of inner demons and hiding parts of yourself. We felt like that was a very universal message, especially these days with like social media and like, you know, we're putting a version of ourselves out there constantly, and I think a younger audience understands that, and an older audience does. So that was the thing that we were, you know, constantly pushing for, and all the other cultural stuff. I know I got asked this a lot, especially in Korea. Like, did you have did you feel the need to explain all the cultural references or specificity? And we didn't. It's a movie about these characters and these themes that feel very universal, and everything else is you just accept it because you're so invested with the story, and that has been our approach the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think our original pitch, it really sort of presented what we did, the final product. Like, we talked a lot about these young women who were awesome, but also super weird and goofy and like wore pajama pants like that. And we talked a lot about like, and it sounds very earnest before you've made the movie, but like a movie about the power of music and how that is a connective thing, and why is it that human beings feel the need to do this thing and make these noises and respond to it. And I think on a sort of, pretty naive level, we said, that's what we think this can be, and credit to the studios involved that they said, whoa, yeah, that if you could pull that off, that would be great.
And then you spent years being,
yeah, and
no,
then
we can pull it
5
off.
years later.
I swear we can get there.
And then we're like, oh, we did it.
I mean, we were talking before we started recording about the different versions of these songs, the different lyrics that it goes through, and animation is such a process of adjusting. I don't know how much you guys, witness it as the singers, but what was the evolution of all these things? How did you watch these songs or the story grow over the course of being involved in it? And, are there other versions of it that we might hear someday, or that you want to tell us about how it all could have been?
It was such a cool process to be able to kind of see the progression of, because we have monitors where we can kind of see with the songs what's going on in the story. And I think that just added a whole nother level in terms of understanding, I think, the context. And I just have a huge, honestly, in general, respect for animation. And I think the level of detail that just went into both the music and the animation, and kind of being able to be a part of that, or at least witness the process of that growth, I think allowed us to really go all out as well, because I think, at least in a lot of music today, I think there's a lot of nonchalance, and there's a lot of like aesthetic based things, and there's a lot of being too cool for school. And I think that is a really necessary reaction to a lot of the music things that have happened in the past. But I think what was so inspiring for the whole, seeing the animation process, seeing the hard work that goes into it, was just like, wow, they're just like balling out. Like, they're just going for it. And there's nothing wrong with kind of doing that on the vocal side too, and just like kind of struggling for it a bit too. That was at least my perspective, but you guys had anything?
So the only scenes I got to see personally were like obviously the singing scenes, and like for example the first recording sessions, the monitor would show like not even full animation. It's just like what are they called, like storyboards. So we're seeing it. Unfortunately, I recorded after Audrey and EJ got to record, so I got to hear all their parts in full, and it was really nice to. One, because we recorded solo, so I didn't get to interact with EJ or Audrey, but hearing their voices and hearing our harmonies and how our voices blend together, on top of seeing this animation develop over each recording session, and you're seeing like, again, like Zoe and Mira just like come to life with each frame with the song. It was just, again, out of this world. And like, again, huge animation fan, so I learned a lot about the process and just how much detail goes into every single frame. So thank you.
I mean, they said everything that I wanted to say. But to add on to that, I was just so shocked how fast the process was, because we recorded it last year. And I thought, this is my first, animation film that I took part of, and I didn't realize. I mean, it took way longer than a year.
Lucky you.
Where were you in 2019 when they were really doing the work?
But no, just very, very blessed to see this come to life so quickly. I was very surprised to hear that the movie was going to launch just a year after recording. And when I was in the studio with Ian Eisendrath, I also only just saw the storyboard as well. So we really just had to hone in on the voices and how the delivery of the song. And for me to see the contrast, because I did not see any of the other scenes. I didn't know where this scene will be placed in the movie.
You didn't know they were the bad guys? So
I knew we were demons. What? But Soda Pop was just so sweet and pure and bubbly.
Who wouldn't like them?
Yeah. And my job was to just, deliver it to the goal of the song, which is to attract steal the fans' souls.
Yeah.
But in the movie, I was like, wow, this is evil. I didn't realize how. Yeah. But
power of film.
The power of film. Yeah.
I have to ask about the animation part of it because it's hard not to feel like I'm sitting with Zoe and Mira here looking at you guys. Like there's a strong resemblance. Like how much of that becomes part of the animation process is like looking at these guys, or for you guys, how much is it characters based on you?
I mean, I had the buns 5 years ago, but they just migrated down. So I like to, I think I'm more grounded now. Still crazy, chaotic. Don't get it twisted. But, she's cool, calm, collected. So Mira.
Yeah, totally.
I think the casting for this movie was just immaculate, honestly. Like it's not even funny. I think even on the voice acting side, when I met Mei Hong, who voices the acting for Mira, I was like, it was like the Spider-Man meme, we're like, is it me? Is it you? Are we? Is I? Like it
you
was.
Are Mira, the two of you together.
We're at a screening, and I think Audrey, you tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was like Audrey and May, and I was like. I don't know, it just blew my mind.
Totally.
But you guys were both smiling at me, and I was like, this is...
It's like they split into two people.
One embryo, two people.
But they're equally Mira, and you bring them together, and it creates this one character. And we felt that way when we met all of our cast. When we were like, oh my gosh, you're Rumi, you're Zoe, you're Mira, and we were just so fortunate that happened. And it just, I don't know, I think everybody, all the artists knew who the characters were and really brought that character to life, in both ways, in the singing and the acting. So it just, I don't know, it was
such
magic.
an honor. Yeah. It's such an honor because the characters are so, they're so real and they're so, I don't know, it's an honor to be able to contribute to a character like who you really do relate to. And obviously given the success of the movie, it's like, I just feel so grateful that it's a character that I really admire and respect and think is the coolest and honestly wish I had growing up to look up to too, and I'm happy for the kids who have that now.
Yeah, I like the way that you've talked, Maggie, about how you wanted them to be like, heroes, but also like do weird things and love their couch and like have weird jokes and burp and stuff like that. And like, I don't know how hard that is to maintain through it because you make a movie for so long and everyone wants them to be like immaculate heroines, but you guys stuck to your guns on that part of it and it paid off.
Yes, that was that was one of the tentpoles of the pitch, the initial pitch of the movie. And so there was huge support for that from the beginning. And it was really important for me to see create women who were silly and stupid at times because I really think there's power in comedy, especially for women. Like it takes a lot of courage to be stupid and then also be accepted for that. And I really wanted to preserve that dynamic and create it. And that's a really important message for young girls, especially.
Yeah. I think there's something in how it's done when they're coming out of the plane and it's like the fit check for the napalm era. It's like so silly and like you can't check your mascara when you're like,
but you can be everything, and that's like girly. But like, yes, they love fashion, but they also love the other stuff too. Like, why can't we have it all?
They also love killing demons. Why not?
And food. The love of food was so like I felt so seen by that.
Yeah. I mean, the food I think of the most, and like the popcorn eyes getting then eaten, which is so gross. It's really gross to think of popcorn coming out of your friend's eyes and you then eating it, but it really works. Does anyone want to take credit for that idea? Who came up with that part?
I mean, it was a group effort.
Okay.
It happened in an art meeting where one of our character, art director Scott Watanabe, drew a chibi of Rumi, and she had heart eyes and then ab eyes because we already knew that scene was going to be in the movie. And then somebody, I think it was Jeannie, said, another artist said, "Oh, that looks like corn," and I was like, well, what if it was corn? And then she just gets so hot that and then butter comes in and it just like, it snowballed in the room. And I remember, I think there was a little like, but like, what's wrong with you? And then I went home and pitched this to my husband, who's also a director, and he's like, that's not gonna work. Like that's stupid. And I'm like, oh, I'll show you. And then we did it, and it was so funny. Yeah. And it was it was one of the original jokes in the movie, and it kind of set the bar for how stupid we can go, and we will go. So it was great.
I loved how many meetings we had over the course of 3 years where it was like, so next up, a room full of 40 people will review the ab eyes, and then we'll review the shot of the butter slapping on them, and it was just, we'd give notes for an hour and a half, and we're like, what is our job?
The right spec on the abs, and it's not looking like abs anymore. It's because of specs. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
No, but like back to the topic of food though, like it's hard not to like get emotional because, and it's just food, but for us it means more than that because seeing Korean food being represented on a big screen like this, it's like something like for us when we were growing up, it was a factor we had to hide at school.
Yes.
Bringing kimbap, like the rice rolls, the
smells,
smell, kimchi, and ramen.
What are you eating? What is that black thing around the rice?
Yeah, and for now it to have this world recognition, and now I could bring my cup noodle wherever I go and be proud of it, is such a such a beautiful.
And it's just a huge part of our culture. Is like even when your mom is mad at you, she'll come and bring you fruit. She's like, eat it, and that's her, peace offering.
Yeah.
Well, as we get to where we have to wrap this up, I have a question that everyone has, but this one came from girls who are named Charlie and Sammy who wanted to know, will there be another one, and will the Saja Boys be in it? They really want to know about the Saja Boys. So
I want to know this.
I know. All right, guys.
Please tell us.
The answer right here.
Oh, gosh. Yes, it's the question of the moment, of course. There's no official word, but we do think that there's a lot to be explored and expanded in this world. We love the characters, and obviously the world loves these characters, and they love the Saja Boys, and
I hope they do.
Demons they never stay dead for long in the world.
But with any of these like fantasy rules. And somebody told me that they can be reversed, they can be, undone. Anything that's closed can be open, and so you just never know,
I do think in a world where eyes can turn into popcorn, that
exactly
that demons can be brought back.
I mean, how many how solid are these rules really?
Well, congratulations to you all. Congratulations on like a big screen success and a small screen success. It's absolutely everywhere, and thank you guys so much for being here.
Happy fans, happy
honeymoon.
You guys are so good. That does it for today's special Monday episode. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be getting back to regularly scheduled programming next week as we continue into the fall award season. And again, over at Prestige Junkie After Party, you're getting bonus lives. We're getting a bonus Friday podcast episode, checking in on our fall festival draft. A lot of fun stuff happening there, including a video version of this podcast. It's just $5 a month. It is worth subscribing. It's going to be a good time. This podcast is edited by Brett Fuchs and produced by Brett Fuchs and me. Our theme music is by Dave Gonzalez. Thanks again today and always to Christopher Rosen. Subscribe to the Prestige Junkie newsletter at theankler.com. Subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you next week.